Hello, welcome everyone. I see as people still join and trickle in, I will let people come through, but I think we can get started with our session today because it is quite a full one. My name is Kat Townsend and we're welcoming you all on Tuesday, 1st of March to the monthly AODC workshop and planning meeting. I think if we can maybe introduce ourselves in the chat. I know that there are quite a few participants here who are leading in the mapping and open data space, which is fantastic because we have David Luswata joining us today from the Regional Southern and East Africa Hub for Humanitarian OpenStreetMap, who will share his work. So if you all wouldn't mind just introducing yourself in the chat so that David knows who is in the room, would be great. And then as always, we are taking live notes in our shared document, which is linked here. Feel free to add any contact information if you would like to follow up. David, I think you can share your screen. Feel free to kick us off whenever you choose.
Excellent. Yeah. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this monthly session, this workshop. I'm very excited to be here to speak with all of you. And at the end of this session, we'll have an open discussion where we'll want to hear about some of your open data sources. So if you have any platforms where you access data, I would like to hear about those. For this particular session, I'm going to be speaking about open mapping hubs and open data collaborations. I'll be focusing on Africa, but the collaborations can be scaled across the globe. And just to check, Jean, are we recording already? I don't seem to see if we are recording.
Yes, Kat, I think you started the recording. Yes.
Yes, we are recording now. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Good, David.
Great. Thanks so much. So I'm David Luswata. I'm the Regional Partnerships Manager for the Open Mapping Hub that serves Eastern and Southern Africa. And in that particular role, I engage with different organizations, different groups of mappers as well as data users in the region, looking at how we can scale the contributions to OpenStreetMap as well as the use of OpenStreetMap as a platform. But we also look at other use cases of open data in the region. So today I'm going to be speaking about the Open Mapping Hub, Eastern and Southern Africa, and OpenStreetMap briefly, and I'll also dive into how to access OpenStreetMap data because we really talk about a lot of access to OpenStreetMap. We'll talk about OpenStreetMap, but how do we access that data that is in OpenStreetMap, and then some open data sources, and we'll also discuss how you can collaborate with the Open Mapping Hub in Eastern and Southern Africa, as well as in some other regions. So the story of Open Mapping Hubs, or the Open Mapping Hub in Eastern and Southern Africa, it begins with the Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team, which is a global organization that has been operating in the disaster response and preparedness circles, as well as sustainable development and building quite a number of technologies around the world for the last coming to 12 years now. So the Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team is based in Washington, DC, but operates across the world. This team has worked on several projects such as disaster risk reduction and preparedness projects, information management, community profiling projects. All of those have been within the disaster response circles. We've also carried out quite a number of projects in the development sector, projects around urban planning, around health systems strengthening, around education, sustainable cities and communities, and around displacement, to mention but a few. And the organization as well runs quite a number of platforms that help contributions to OpenStreetMap, as well as contributions to the use of data, how you can access OpenStreetMap data, as well as how you can contribute to OpenStreetMap data. Now, the Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team as well focuses on a number of areas that include, for instance, the humanitarian response that I just talked about, around mobilizing contributors to generate map data that is used in humanitarian response, development circles, the academia, all of that data that is contributed by these contributors to OpenStreetMap can be used in those areas, as well as several others. Like we've had some use cases of business, economic activities using OpenStreetMap. HOT as well supports OSM communities to prepare for and respond to disasters. These OSM communities we support are spread across the world. In most countries, you will find that there is a group of contributors to OpenStreetMap that organize themselves into an OSM community. So HOT supports all of that. Capacity development is the other, where we engage partners, work with partners, providing training for them. If they are probably working on any field data collection project, we provide training to those particular partners. We provided skill sharing sessions, and this is an open invitation. If you are interested, we can provide some skill sharing sessions with you and be able to collaborate with you. We have an interesting component of mobilizing funds and giving out grants that I'll be speaking about shortly, but we are doing that, and especially in Eastern and Southern Africa, we are giving out grants that you can benefit from. Also, other hubs have some form of grants, and especially for West Africa and Northern Africa, their granting process will be coming up in the coming months. There are quite a number of tech tools that we've developed. Most of them, actually all of them, are open source tools that you can access, including the tasking manager, which I think is the most popular one among the tools that we have created at HOT. And finally, building partnerships is really key to using open data as well as to contributing open data. So we really are interested in establishing those linkages between data creators and data users, particularly focusing on OpenStreetMap, but also really interested in discussing, for example, with the National Spatial Data Infrastructure teams, so that there can be ways we can open up data that is traditionally with national government custodians, like the bureaus of statistics in any given country or particular government entities. And finally, data quality, because with the use of data and open data, you really are interested in quality. So we do quite invest a lot in data quality monitoring. In OpenStreetMap, we have validation campaigns that go on, and all of those are focusing on ensuring that there is good quality data that can be used by humanitarian responders in the event of a disaster or a humanitarian crisis. So HOT, as an organization, has supported the setting up of 4. At the moment, there are 3 that have been set up, but 1 is coming up. So the first one was Opening Up Asia Pacific, which is based in Manila, Philippines. Eastern and Southern Africa Mapping Hub is based in Nairobi, Kenya. And then West and Northern Africa Regional Mapping Hub is based in Dakar in Senegal. So all of those 3 are operational. And if you have any operations going on in Eastern and Southern Africa, West Africa, Northern Africa, Asia Pacific, feel free to reach out, and we can have a conversation and link you up with those particular groups that are supporting those regions. Latin America and the Caribbean is coming up later this year, so looking forward to that one as well. So the hub is particularly in Eastern and Southern Africa, focusing on supporting 23 countries in this particular region, as you can see on this map. In those countries, we are working with local OSM communities where they do exist. Where they do not exist, we are working with some contributors and will be continuing to engage those contributors and work towards creating an OSM community in that particular country. We are also looking at ways that map data can be used in these particular locations and countries. So we are engaging different partners and groups and checking how they can use mapping and map data in the work that they currently are doing. So we are really looking forward to engaging more and working with more contributors and more users of map data in the region. The hub as well offers some particular services, including grants for open mapping communities and organizations. We just wrapped up the call for this particular period. Just wrapped up was that yesterday? Yeah, it just wrapped up yesterday, and we actually on Sunday, not yesterday. But the goal is that we will be having these grants coming up, and I'll be sharing a little bit more about that shortly. But we are also providing the different training sessions around using mapping tools for remote mapping or field mapping, onboarding different organizations to the tasking manager. So if you have a team or you're an organization, you're interested in contributing to OpenStreetMap in a coordinated way, we are very happy to support you and have you onboarded to the tasking manager so that you can continue contributing to OpenStreetMap in your work in the projects that you're implementing. We have an ongoing campaign of mapping Africa. And this is done through the mapathons that we are doing every month with the OSM Africa Network, which is a network of OSM communities across Africa. And every month we have a mapathon going on. This particular month, which is this Saturday, we'll be mapping Sierra Leone. So you can join us for that particular one. I'll share a link in chat if it's not yet there. And the goal is, yeah, Geoffrey shared that already, thanks. The goal is that we'll be able to work together to map most of the communities and locations across the continent. So let me just share a little bit about grants, because we are really interested in having quite a number of grants in the hands of as many organizations and mapping communities as possible within the region. This particular quarter, we were focusing on 6 countries that's Uganda, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Malawi, Namibia, and Kenya. Our goal is going to be that every quarter we have a granting cycle coming up. So we'll be communicating that quite a lot. So if you can check out our social media or subscribe to our newsletter, we can always have that information coming up. But just so you know, every quarter we'll be looking at having a granting cycle coming out, and we'll be focusing on different countries within the region. So the goal here is that organizations and communities will work in advancing the organization's mission, and particularly using OpenStreetMap data and tools. Will be enriching OpenStreetMap data by increasing contributions from new communities and members, as well as designing and implementing innovative map data solutions and projects. So if you have a particular mapping project that you've been thinking about or you wanted to implement, I think these grants can be an avenue for you to do that. The amounts available here are anywhere between $5,000 US and $45,000 US. So yeah, reach out if you would like to discuss more about these grants, or you have an idea that you think should be funded, just reach out to us. Now, the Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team and the hubs are focusing quite heavily within these 5 impact areas. This is disasters and climate resilience, public health, gender equality, sustainable cities and communities, as well as displacement and safe migration. What we are encouraging all of our communities and partners to do is if you are not particularly working within these particular areas, you can still reach out and we can have a conversation. But I think it's important for you to know that this is what the hub is focusing on, and this is what, again, the organization is focusing on. If you're doing any project or you're working on any activities that are within the public health sector, we are really interested in discussing and checking out any collaborations we can have, if it's within immigration or urban dwellings and infrastructure mapping. We are very interested. Gender equality. So we are really interested putting this here for you. Now, I also wanted to discuss, before we dive into open data sources, I wanted to discuss and point out that we are looking and interested in advancing collaborations between civil society, the academia, mapping communities, government agencies, all of these circles, hubs, and especially in Eastern and Southern Africa, we are really interested. If you follow in any of these groups, we are open to discussing possibilities and collaborations and checking how we can work together to advance the open mapping discussions and processes in the region, as well as open data, opening up data sets across the region, across the country where you live and work. Possible ways of how we can work together, just for your consideration here, is we can work together to get access to the data that you need for a local program. Maybe you're implementing a particular project in Mozambique. We are really happy to have a conversation and see how we can either link you up with the OSM community there, or share some of the training materials that we've developed in the past, yeah, just work with you and see how your program can succeed. So whichever location you're working in, feel free to reach out. We also are interested in supporting the use of open data and maps in your work. So maybe you have a project going on, but you haven't figured out yet how to integrate maps into that particular project, or you're not so sure how OpenStreetMap can support your project. We have some ideas and are happy to discuss those ideas. And again, one particular one is, as I mentioned, we have OSM communities in particular locations in countries. So we would like to link up those communities with you. So again, that's another way we can collaborate. So if you're implementing a project in Kenya, we're happy to, provide linkages to those particular groups or facilitate some of the trainings that can come out of that. We also want to work with you and help you understand how to manage and integrate OpenStreetMap data and tools into your work. So you probably are looking for ways of having access to OSM data or contributing this volume of data sets that you have into OSM. This is what we are interested in doing. Okay, so there's been a lot of mention of OpenStreetMap in my presentation for the last couple of minutes. What I'd like to do now is to discuss a little bit about that. And I've seen some colleagues on the call that have used OSM before, or even contributed OpenStreetMap. So I'd like to chat a bit about this one. OSM is I think it's just more than a mapping platform. It's a repository of data, and we are talking about open data collaborations today. OpenStreetMap provides that opportunity where anyone, any organization can contribute to OpenStreetMap, not just contributing, but accessing and downloading this data that is in OpenStreetMap, and you use it in your data. I've had some conversations with several organizations and government agencies, and they actually, in some instances, dropped national data sets and went for OpenStreetMap data because it was more complete. It had more, for example, if it's a roads data set, it has more roads that are mapped in OSM than what the National Roads Authority probably can map. So the use cases are so many. But yeah, OSM is that particular platform that if you've not used before, all you need is to sign up, and then you start using the platform. So anyone can sign up and contribute to the map, as well as sign up and download data from the map. Two main stages of contributing to the map that I want to also highlight today are remote mapping and field mapping. So when it comes to contributing to OpenStreetMap, you can do that in a remote way where you have a satellite image and then you digitize out buildings across a particular location, or roads, or water points, or water bodies across a particular area of interest. So you can do that. The other way is adding local knowledge information to the map. Now, this local knowledge information requires that you actually know the place physically. You've either lived there, or you live there, or you have data that was collected from the field, and you can add that to OpenStreetMap. So the first level within adding local knowledge, which we've called level 2 generally, is where you add place names and neighborhood names to the map. These place names can be added to the map where you just, you know the place name, it's a village, this is what it's called, and you add that to the map. So that's really helpful information and is a great journey in completing the map, so that you can have a complete map that can be used for humanitarian response, or government purposes, or navigation purposes, or if it's a business, you really want to know the names of these places. The third level is where you can add facilities to the map. So you can add an education facility, you can add a school, you can add a water point, you can add facilities like health facilities to the map, and all of that information is helpful for many use cases, including public health. For example, if you have a vaccination campaign going on, or it's a sanitation planning, or service delivery, that is all possible uses of what data that is in OSM can do. And then finally, if we have a facility in OpenStreetMap added to OSM, maybe it is Boma Clinic, you can still add more details about that facility in OpenStreetMap. And again, that is through local knowledge. You really have to be there. You are physical at that location. You add information about it. What's the contact number? How many beds does it have? And all of that information. So those are the two stages of contributing to OpenStreetMap. Remote mapping is literally you are somewhere in Madagascar and you are remote mapping Ghana, for example. You can be anywhere and you remote map any place. This data that has been contributed to OpenStreetMap can be used for numerous use cases. I just outlined just a few here, such as flood history mapping, or service delivery. If you're, for example, a government entity, you are into building boreholes for a particular district, you really can use OpenStreetMap to know where, for example, people live, and then if you have an existing data set of water points, you can use OpenStreetMap data, which is buildings data, and then you overlay that and you see where most people live, and then you can plan distributing those water points. Solid waste disposal management as well, sanitation projects, displacement of people, national censuses, statistical surveys. The use cases of OSM data are so many. So if OSM data can be used for so many use cases, and I just outlined just a few here, how do you access it? That's the other component that I wanted to to touch on today, how to access OSM data. So just also to speak a bit about this particular screenshot here, this is Liberia in West Africa, where what you see before, it was just the remote mapping, and then through the second level, the second step of field mapping, we were able to get shops, places of worship, toilets. We were able to get coffee shops in here, and so many other points in OpenStreetMap. So the map can be completed indeed through those two processes. So how do you access OSM data? I am going to highlight just two or three potential ways. One of those is using GeoFabric, and I think I can look at that briefly here, how to access OSM data using GeoFabric. Yeah.
Just want to check in. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, David, can you hear us? Just stop for a moment.
Yes, I can hear you now. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I think there was just a internet momentary glitch. Yeah, I think there was a glitch.
Okay. Excellent. I think I'm still.
David, if the connection is bad, we have your presentation and can share it out, and people can follow along separately.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'm back.
You're back.
Okay.
Great.
Go ahead.
Great. So, Kat, can you share the presentation?
Yes. Let me.
Oh, no, just a minute. I think I should be good now.
Okay. And then I think, David, we just want to have a few minutes for the for some Q&A, because I know that people have questions.
Sure.
Because you've shared so much and so much work. Okay, I go.
Sure. Great. I wanted to run through like a demo of this, but I think I can skip that and just click on a continent. And once you click on a continent, you are then able to zoom into a country, which then you are able to download data per country. If you're interested in the whole continent, you can still download the whole continent. That's one. The other is the hot export tool, which is a tool that has been developed by Hot. Kat, could you share your screen?
Yes, so it's just messaging you that. Allow me to share so that I can stay on the same slide, but feel free to keep talking.
Okay.
David, go ahead if you want to, while Kat's working on getting the screen share to work, if you want to just keep going over some of the things you were just about to say. David, can you hear us? David? think David's having connectivity problems. Why don't we pause that presentation for just a few minutes while he gets reconnected? And in the meantime, shall we go to, we have a summary presentation on the work we've done last year. And we also have a survey from Winnie Camus. So Kate, do you want to do the presentation for the summary while we're waiting for David to reconnect?
Yes, I can start with that. Yes.
Kate, do you mind if I do the last slide and we wrap up from my side?
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so apologies for that glitch there. The hot export tool is one other way you can access data, which is, yeah, you just go to export.hotosm.org and then you specify your area of interest. You select the data sets that you want to download, maybe buildings or others like just points of interest. And then you are able to download that data. The goal here being you download that data and you have it locally on your machine and you're able to use it. I wanted to also, if you can skip to slide 23, okay. HDX is one that I also wanted to point out, and Zambia has done great with their Zambia Data Hub, which is run by the Ministry of Lands under their NSDI project. I think that's an interesting one. Lots of data sets there that you can access. They were able to pull some of the data from OpenStreetMap to the Data Hub. My question to everyone is what other data sources are you using? So if you have some favorite ones that you can post in chat, that will be helpful for us to learn more about the ones that you're using and you use to access data. Yeah, that's and some contact information here for following up on the Open Mapping Hub on slide number 24. Great. That's all. Thanks, Kat. Let's move to questions and next segments.
Great, thank you so much, David. That was an amazing presentation and just a great work that OpenStreetMaps continues to do. Let's open it up for some questions. So I have one question, David. How is the data that's contributed verified? Is it sort of the wisdom of the crowds like Wikipedia, or is there any sort of check process during an event or an activity?
Yeah, great one. It's the wisdom of the crowd, which we are calling the OSM communities. OSM now has, I think there should be over 4 million contributors that contribute to this amazing platform. So that particular group checks the data, validates the data, and as it continuously gets used, it gets checked. So it's that particular check that comes from the community. There are some agencies that contribute to the data. So in that case, when we have imports to OSM, this data comes from a government agency that has checked that data or has verified that data. So that's also another way the data is the quality of the data is ensured. But for the most part, it's community checking of the data.
Thank you. Other questions?
There's a question from Florence in the chat, which I think is the question we'd all love, is how do these projects sustain over time? So David, you and I have talked about, does the government pick these up, does private sector, or is it just continuing goodwill for OpenStreetMap? So what is your sense of sustainability?
Yeah, I think this is still an ongoing issue in most of the locations. The sustainability is, I think, has no definite answer, not just for OpenStreetMap projects, but also many other projects. With OpenStreetMap projects, I think what we are ensuring is the growth and development of strong OSM communities of contributors that continue to contribute to the map and build more projects around the around OpenStreetMap. But in terms of sustainability of, let's say, a funded project in a given location in Zimbabwe, it's quite challenging, especially if funding for that particular project is coming from a donor who has maybe 50K or 100K to implement a project, and does some work in a particular location. Usually challenges of sustainability are still existent because of funding gaps, could be with the government or local government or other actors in that particular location. But what we are really working towards is building strong OSM communities that can build off of that particular project and write other proposals, get some more funding for other projects around that particular country.
It's really helpful and very hopeful. Appreciate that a lot. Final questions or any reactions on the request for data sets or other sort of provocations David shared? I know we have a lot of OSM people on.
Yeah, I'm really curious to hear about other open data sources, not particularly OSM data sources, but maybe we can have a repository of those data portals that people use most of the time. I think one more that I can point out is the, I think it's GADIM that has administrative boundaries across the world. That's, I think, an interesting one for people to tap into as they work with administrative boundaries or create maps of different locations.
Great. No, I think that would be fantastic. Okay, let's take that offline. Jean says she's been using open data from NASA on air quality, which also has the geographic implications. So I think we do have various inventories of the kinds of data sets available, and there's some landscaping of open data sets, but maybe something that's something that we can work on together offline. Jean's also shared a link, so we can check that out. But I think this is a great request and something to be continued. Okay, so I'll just extend thanks to David for this very thorough, very detailed presentation. This was quite fantastic, and your work is excellent. And I know people can be a bit shy on the call, but it's very much appreciated, and we're looking forward to continuing to support it.
Thank you, Kat.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I'll turn it over to Kate.
Hi, perfect. I am going to share our recap, our summary of last year, 2021. Let me just share my screen. Are you able to see it in presenter mode?
And I think you still need to share.
Oh, yes. Okay.
There you go. That works.
Okay, perfect. So our Africa Open Data Collaboratives 2021 in review. This past year was an exciting one for AODC monthly series. 2021 marked the 8th year of the Africa Open Data Meetup, where we host new lectures, dedicated projects, community discussions, outreach, education, applications, and news about open data. As we continued to build upon our work, we also grew our community in new and varied ways. We expanded our typical monthly presentations to incorporate new and vital data training sessions, international panel discussions, and virtual and in-person events. We've also begun taking monthly surveys to shape the series and content into areas that are more educational and relevant. Some of the highest rated sessions this year, in fact, included our training sessions, or not this year, but last year. We discussed our meetings this past year were naturally shaped by the global challenges, and the theme of truth emerged as a unifying thread, playing heavily in each of our monthly meetings. A main feature of many of our discussions was COVID-19 and the pandemic and the fight against misinformation. Confidence and trust metrics in open data played a role as well. And furthermore, we explored gender data and equity, as well as open data and transparency. As our community grew, so too did the methods in which we meet and approach these monthly meetings. Here's a list of the new ways and some of the familiar ways that we met this year through panel discussions, in-depth sessions, virtually and in person in Nairobi, trainings and workshops, UN workshops on chief data officers and government data, Wikithon on women in STEM, a watch party for the UN World Data Forum. We focused on the presentation on empowering women to join the data revolution to improve lives, published a blog on the world of open data, bridges for women in the UN World Data Forum, and a recap of the International Astronautical Federation and space-related projects in Africa. I'll list some of our featured sessions. I'm going to go into and include just a quick summary and recap of what we discussed, but you can also look in the meeting notes for a much longer summary, as well as links to each of these presentations. So we started this year in February. Normally we skip the month of January because it's New Year's. We started this year focused on trust and official data with Dr. Ann Thurston, the founder of the International Records Management Trust, and Dr. Eustace Wamakoya, Dean of the School of Information Studies at the Moai University. Dr. Thurston discussed the importance of capturing, preserving, and handling data developed as part of the SDGs, and the presentation elaborated on the need to capture and verify data to ensure reliable and accurate information. In March, it was Women's History Month, and we partnered with Time's Up and other women's groups to expand profiles of women in STEM on Wikipedia. In addition, Enoch gave a wonderful training session on how to edit Wikipedia articles. Enoch is the community manager for the Ghana Wikipedia group, and this training session included information on those just getting started in Wikipedia, as well as those who are much more in-depth and experienced in editing Wikipedia and tracking down sources and information. This was a very popular session, one of the highlights of the year. So if you get a chance and it's something that interests you, I recommend you checking it out. The presentation also discussed the importance of Wikipedia pages in native languages and censoring the removal of key female figures, and how we can use Wikipedia to build a better data-driven world together. May, we generally skip April because it's April Fools here in the West. In May, we had the COVID Action Open Call and workshop on best practices for data proposal. And this was another training session, and this one provided a roadmap for writing, forming, and structuring data proposals and data-driven initiatives. So this data training session is going to cover everything about how to build your data plan from start to finish. So this just gives you a roadmap. If you're not sure where to begin, but you've got a great idea, this is the session to check out. Then in June, Philip Thiago and Yema Thompson both proceeded with an enlightening presentation on the pandemic response in Sierra Leone. Yema spoke about the challenges Sierra Leone has experienced with vaccinations, the politicization of vaccines, and the difficulty vaccinating particular demographics. In response to the latter, she went into a discussion about how the Council of Imams was hosted, support from UNICEF, in addition to kind of the perceptions that Muslims would not take the vaccines during Ramadan. This session also included highlights from a hackathon centered on food insecurity. Then in July, we had a presentation on civic tech and public accountability, a case study of PBDC's Budeshi procurement monitoring in Nigeria. And then in August, we had data journalism in a pandemic, lessons from Ghana and Kenya, that focused on how reporting has shifted during the pandemic, the potential and the barriers in reporting on the vaccine rollout. And our discussion during that session revealed that the issues can be looked at in a broader context of data literacy. Key takeaway was that using the examples of the vaccine's impact on women's health that was brought up in some of our previous discussions, it's clear that journalists with research and data training can be better equipped to challenge, deconstruct, and think critically about motivation, sensationalism in pandemic reporting. Then in September, we heard from Grant Cameron, Miriam Raby, and Hayden Daum on the UN Sustainable Development Solution Networks, learning about data stewardship and the need for further collaborative efforts, just like these AODC meetings. Examples were brought up from projects that included initiatives in Burkina Faso, Madagascar, Chad, Tunisia, Ghana, and Kenya. In October, we had the World Data Forum Watch Party, which was a wonderful social event that we had both virtually and in person. This session featured case studies from Nigeria, where government procurement data was used to address declining rates of female attendance in schools by creating safer, cleaner, and academically appropriate facilities. This was a really fun session to participate in, and AODC was able to publish a blog on the United Nations about our experiences and watching this together and our thoughts. Then in November, Jean and I gave a summary of the highlights and key insights from the 2021 International Astronautical Congress. So those of you who have been with us for a few years will remember that AODC hosted a workshop on using open space data in developing countries at the previous Congress, and we ended up going again this year. This talk featured video presentations from the conference showcasing examples of data application in Africa in the space sector. One of the highlights was a presentation by Maria Gabriela Serra of ESA, the European Space Agency, and a lot of her presentation, which you can go back and view through our meeting notes, highlighted OpenStreetMapping and applications for that. So it kind of ties in well to today's presentation. Then in December, we concluded the year with a training session on identifying and mitigating misinformation and disinformation. Constanza Caniglia explained the differences between misinformation and disinformation and explored the role that digital platforms and algorithms play in spreading information, connecting us back to our discussion at the beginning of the year about trust and confidence in open data. This year, the AODC meeting saw hundreds of participants from 20 countries across the globe. This includes Burkina Faso, Nigeria, Canada, France, Tunisia, Uganda, Singapore, just to name a few. Together, we produced over 10 hours of content focused specifically on open data in Africa, over 26 pages of meeting notes, which you can view online at any time. And we tried a new approach this year in addition to our regular presentations, holding training sessions, panel discussions, and events. These activities were quite popular and we'll probably continue to do them in the future. Having taken what we learned from last year, we have some exciting sessions lined up for this year, just like the one you got to experience just before me. And we look forward to having you join us again for another amazing year. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Kate. That's really helpful. And I'm sorry we are right at time, so we're out of time for feedback. But Winnie Kamau has shared a Menti. So this is a survey to get any feedback on this session and suggestions for future sessions. So a great presentation, and as you can see, so much work done each year. And we'd love to be able to continue forward with with topics, with trainings, with speakers, that would be most helpful. So please take a moment to complete that, and thank you all for joining today. And then Winnie, if you want to say anything else about the mentee, please feel free to jump in.
Okay, thanks, Scott. As you can see on your screen, I'm trying to share it. So I can share. Yay, I can see some responses coming in. They can first. Curious. So far, please rate today's session, and people say it's very, very valuable. I don't know if I can do the next presentation. Can move to the next one. Okay, let me stop sharing and see if I can move to the next slide. It will only take 1 minute of your time. So in the next few minutes, like 2 minutes, we should be able to wrap up.
Do you want to project it?
Yes, that's what I was trying to do.
Okay.
So it's loading. Okay, somebody, oh, Kat, you're taking over the screen.
Kat, to get to the next screen, I think you just need to hit the submit, do something to hit the submit button. You just need to choose one.
So there are 3 presentations. So please rate today's session and what do you prefer and what topic would you want? What topic would you want to discuss? There's something people are saying, environment. There's someone who says women, how it affects them. So I don't know if it's women and the environment and how it affects them. I'll share these results with you guys. We'll share them.
Winnie, where were we able to enter our suggestions? Where was that an option?
Yes, there was an option.
It was shared in the chat, Kate.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, so it's loading as you're putting in your answers. But so far we have the highest number of people saying that this session was very valuable to them.